Hello again, this is Bunton Cole with your Visual Functional Mathematics at level 2. This is the end of section 2 on measuring, after which we'll proceed to the final chapter, if you like, of the course, which will be on data handling. But for now, let's finish with angles in 2D shapes. In this lesson, you'll learn angles in triangles add up to 180 degrees. You'll also learn that angles in quadrilaterals add up to 360 degrees. And you'll learn how to find missing angles. By the way, this is lesson 9 of part 2 on measuring. During this lesson, you'll come across words like angles, triangles, quadrilateral, properties, and 2D shapes. They are words you've come across in the past, I'm sure, during your level 1 and previous lessons. But they're being used within the context of angles in 2D shapes. Let's start up with angles in a triangle which add up to 180 degrees. If you add up the angles at the corners of a triangle, you'll always get the same answer, 180 degrees. And that is your reminder, which you need to be able to remember at any time during the course, during your exam, and in your lifetime. Angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. You can use this rule to work out the size of missing angles when you know the other two angles. As you see on the diagram, angles A plus angle B plus angle C is equal to 180 degrees. Let's look at this example. What is the size of the missing angle in this triangle? The angles add up to 180 degrees. That's a fact you must know. So, subtract angles that you know from this information. Therefore, we subtract 70 from 180 and then 60 from 180, and we'll have 50 degrees as the answer to the question. An alternative way of doing it, you add 70 and 60, which will add up to 130. If you subtract that from 180, you'll have 50 degrees. Let's look at example 2. The diagram on the right is an equilateral triangle. That means all the sides are equal. What is the size of angle A? A fact you must remember that all three angles in an equilateral triangle add up to 180 degrees and are equals. So, what you do? Divide by 3 to find the size of one angle. And the size of angle A is equal to 180 divided by 3, which is equal to 60 degrees. You can check your answer by adding 60 degrees plus 60 degrees plus 60 degrees, or multiplying 60 degrees by 3. We look at example 3. An isosceles triangle has an angle of 100 degrees. What is the size of the other two angles? What's an isosceles triangle? It means that it has two equal sides and a base side. So all three angles add up to 180 degrees. Again, remember that. So the other two angles add up to 180 degrees minus 100, which is equal to 80 degrees. An isosceles triangle has two equal angles. You need to remember that. So how do we find the side of the two base angles? And there is your solution. The other two angles must add up to 180 degrees minus 100 degrees, which is 80 degrees. So to find the angle of one of those angles, you divide 80 by 2, and you'll find out that each of the angles is 40 degrees. Practice question set 1. Calculate the size of the missing angles in these triangles, A and B. Question 2. The diagram on the right is a right-angled triangle. Calculate the size of the angle A. Remember that a right angle is equal to 90 degrees exact. I've helped you answer the question already because I'm a good man. The diagram on the right is an isosceles triangle. Remember the properties of an isosceles triangle, yeah? Calculate the size of angle B. And question 4. The diagram on the right shows a triangle with a line of symmetry. Calculate the size of angle C. Once you've attempted them, you can check your answer. Remember, you are self-assessing, so attempt the answers first before you check your answers. And if you got any wrong, you make a correction. Question 1. A, 80 degrees. B, 70 degrees. Question 2, 65 degrees. Question 3, 80 degrees. And question 4, 100 degrees. Let's look at angles in a quadrilateral. The fact is, angles in a quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. If you add up the angles at the corners of a quadrilateral, you'll always get the same answer. I wonder why. Let me give you a clue. Try to divide a quadrilateral into 2 triangles. Then you'll know why it adds up to 360 degrees. You could use a line to do that. You can use this rule to work out the size of a missing angle when you know the other 3 angles. A plus B plus C plus D is equal to 360 degrees. By the way, quadrilateral is a 4-sided shape. Example 1. What is the size of the missing angle in this shape? You have a quadrilateral with 3 angles, 60, 120 and 60 degrees. So what is the size of the missing angle? You know that all 4 angles should add up to 360 degrees, so you simply add them all up together, okay? Or you subtract all of them from 360 degrees and you will have the size of the missing angle as 120 degrees. Example 2. The diagram below shows a quadrilateral with 2 lines of symmetry. Calculate the size of the angles A, B and C. First, the lines of symmetry tell you that angles B and C are the same. And angle A is 20 degrees. That is indicated on the diagram. To find the angles B and C, subtract the angles that you know from the total and divide the remaining angles by 2 as you see on the right. So 360 degrees minus 20 is equal to 320. Then you divide. 320 divided by 2 is 160 degrees. So angle A is 20 degrees, angle B and C are each 160 degrees. Practice question set 2, questions 1 and 2. Calculate the size of the missing angles in these quadrilaterals, A and B. Question 2. Josie has drawn the quadrilateral on the right. What is the size of the missing angle in her drawing? Just follow your rules. Remember how you mark a right angle? I've given you a clue. And then practice questions set 2, questions 3 and 4. The diagram on the right shows a kite with one line of symmetry. Calculate the size of the angles A and B. Question 4. The diagram shows a parallelogram. It has 2 pairs of equal angles. Calculate the size of the angles A, B and C. Just remember the rules and apply them. And the answers to question set 2 are question 1A, 100 degrees, question 1B, 120 degrees, question 2, 40 degrees, question 3, 110 degrees, and question 4, B is 100 degrees, A and C are 80 degrees. And before we go, let's take a look at what we've learned from this very short lesson. You've covered the following, which tells you that the angles in triangles add up to 180 degrees. It also tells you that the angles in quadrilaterals add up to 360 degrees. Remember what I said, if you want to prove some of these, for example in a quadrilateral, just divide it into 2 triangles and you'll be able to see that a quadrilateral adds up to 360 degrees, which is the sum of 2 triangles, each of which is 180 degrees. And you also learn how to find missing angles in 2D shapes. Finally, please attempt all the practice questions first before you check your answers and do corrections. If you got all of them right, it's good. Always celebrate. It's very, very useful and it helps you to move on. If you got any wrong, do the correction, find out where you went wrong and learn from it. So this is our last lesson on section 2, measuring. The next lesson will be lesson 1 on data handling, and that will be the last section. Data handling is the last section of level 2. So we're making progress, and you are making progress too. I'll see you then. Take care. Thank you.